Today I'm with Mark Bebbington, former amateur and head coach of New Era Community Boxing Club. Thanks a lot for doing this, Mark. How are you doing, and is New Era back up and running again?
So we've done as much as we can. We stayed with outdoor sessions last year. Well, we done Zoom sessions, which is something completely new, but seems a new normal, if you like. That was limited, mostly juniors were getting the benefits of that. Then we had the outdoor sessions. That was initially 6 at the time, then it opened up to, I think it was 30. And then indoor sessions in terms of adults have been May 17th, and actually we're busier than we've ever been. I think just because people are desperate to get back into clubs, into gyms, and also what goes with that, the socializing and, you know, meeting up with people and things like that. So yeah, we're busier than we've ever been, which is great.
That's fantastic, that. Now, before I talk to you about your boxing club, New Era, I want to ask you about the Guinness World Record that you're attempting. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so I like to set myself a challenge each year. So last year I done a running challenge, and that raised money for Cheshire Young Carers. So I almost have to raise the bar. You know, I think the year before I entered a 145-mile race, which is, you know, so when you're doing that, you have to go as equal or if not bigger, you know, and it's difficult to find those challenges. I like to base my challenges around endurance, and it's very similar to boxing. Obviously, this is very long term. It's sort of the battle of the mind, if you like, you know, the strength to overcome. So I initially had an idea of how many rounds I could do. So I applied to the Guinness World Records, and I didn't actually know it's an existing record, and that was set in 2014 by a boxing coach called Bradley Welsh, who was of Holyrood in Edinburgh. So the existing record is 360 rounds, and that's 24 hours. I could have done 361 or 370, but 500 for whatever reason seemed the next benchmark, if you like. So
that's doing the pads, is it, for 500 rounds?
Yeah, there's been a little bit of confusion what actually it is. Some people have said, is it me and other coaches? Is it me hitting the pads? In effect, it's because the rules have already been set, so I have to replicate the rules. So it's a 3-minute round with a 1-minute rest. It can be as many boxes as you want, but the same boxer can't hit the pads twice in a row for whatever reason. So what I'm effectively doing is getting as many boxers down to hit the pads, and they can each contribute towards the record. So it works out 15 rounds an hour. So obviously 360 set by Bradley was 24 hours. So 500 is going to be about 34 hours, just over. I think 34 hours and 20 minutes, something like that.
That's an incredible attempt, and you're doing it for a good cause as well, aren't you?
Yes, it's actually a local lady, Deborah Dixon Williams, and she's the fundraiser and ambassador for a charity. It's a national charity, Cardiac Risk in the Young. Now, she unfortunately lost her son, who was fit and healthy, absolutely no symptoms, and he died a few years back. Then she sort of made it her mission to obviously raise awareness and raise funds for the cardiac risk in the young. Now, how that works is they send the cardiologists, and they send the equipment to screen the hearts, and it's basically for every £50 that she can raise, she can screen the heart of one young person. So she normally does it on 100 people per day. So that's £5,000. So we've set the target, quite an ambitious target of £10,000, which would screen 200 young people. which would be amazing. And it's actually across the Northwest. And I think what's really good and relevant in terms of boxing clubs, it screens the hearts of 14 to 35-year-olds, which is, you know, is exactly the sort of age range that we work with. We work with younger and we work with older, but many of our competitors fall into that age bracket. So it's perfect for you know, working towards and contributing to.
I'm really looking forward to that. I struggle for 40 minutes doing the pads, so I can't imagine 36 hours. So, but going to your own boxing club, New Era, whereabouts is it, Mark? And when and why did you set the club up?
I've always boxed as a young person. I boxed in my local town, which is Winsford, sort of in the middle of Cheshire. I then moved to Warrington, the old Warrington ABC, which was under a coach still going, Mike Rowan. I then joined the army, boxed under Chris Bessie as the head coach. I then left, coming back to my hometown. The box Winsford still going, do offer a great service, and then I ended up traveling to, it was Phoenix Olympic at the time, and now Phoenix Fire, Damien Redpath's gym. Boxed there, competed there a couple of years, and then ended up actually going over to Staffordshire, to Kids Grove. And then I was sort of in between. I found myself going either 40 minutes one way and 40 minutes the other. There was also, at the time, which is shut down, Joey Singleton, Crew ABC. So I just felt there was at least sort of 4 or 5 towns within this area, and there wasn't a single boxing club other than Winsford. So I was quite young at the time, 28, to make a decision to open the club. And actually, people said to me, you know, as much as you love boxing, it's kind of a rugby and football town. It's not necessarily going to work. And actually, since then, there's been Holmes Chapel, Kevin Brownlow opening. There's been another boxing club in Northwich, in South Cheshire, which is extremely busy. So it's got. I feel like boxing's got a bit of a buzz about it again, a bit of a renaissance, if you like.
But it's really popular in this country now, isn't it? Who's your club aimed at? Is it just amateur boxers, or are people there for fitness as well?
Everyone. We do sessions for, I do, it's called CHAPS, Cheshire Autism. My son goes to an art school for people with autism. So we've done breakfast boxing clubs. We do all sorts. I work with quite a lot with the schools. We cover a wide range. In fact, we done a course, safeguarding course last night. And one of our potential coaches he just started with me doing keep fit, brought his son along, and now he's 63, he wants to become a coach, you know. So it's something that it's actually surprised myself. You know, 10 years ago, I had that sort of, right, I'm going to open a gym, we're going to have loads of champions. And actually, the more I've got into it, the more I'll look and say, you know, as much as every club wants that, you know, everyone wants that champion, but it's just that striving, you know, they're a force for good, and so many boxing clubs are doing things like this. It's just incredible. What
do you think the benefits are of boxing, Mark?
I mean, everyone says the physical benefits, but there's just so much more to it, especially for young people. It gives them that direction, gives them a little bit of guidance. You know, just the way that I looked up to my coaches. I suppose, you know, some may look up to me, I'm not sure, in a way. And obviously, if I'm always there for them if they need advice. And I just feel like it's more than boxing. Does that make sense? It's so much more than just hitting the bags. And I think it's the benefits that can also be a little bit of a hindrance, because when I finish the club at night, none of them want to leave, you know, because it's so important to them. That
I think most people don't realise, about 80–90% of most boxers in a boxing club don't actually compete, and a lot of those don't even spar, do they?
No, absolutely, yeah. I mean, let's be honest. I think times have changed. When I boxed when I was younger, you don't really think about keeping the club open and the bills that go with it. But essentially, the the people that they train and they keep fit, they're the ones who are keeping the club open. The boxers, there's so much time going into them, and that's what it's about. That's what gives the club legitimacy, if you like. And people aspire to that. The younger lads see the competing and in club shows and tournaments, and that gives everyone that incentive and the support around that. But if it wasn't for everyone else around them, there would be no club. And I think that's a reality for many clubs nowadays.
And where it's changed massively, a lot of young girls are boxing now, aren't they? Is that the same at New Era?
Yeah, it's growing. It's really growing. We've got our first female coach last year, unfortunately, just before the lockdown. But she's come in. She's offering sessions. We will have our second female coach soon, and with that, comes the. It sort of goes hand in hand. You have a few more members, and then you get the coaches, and they sort of work together. Which for me, it was a no-brainer because it's a massive untapped market, isn't it, for clubs, and for the sport as a whole.
Yeah, you can see it all around the world when I do these interviews. The girls' side of it is growing massively. Talking of the coaches there, who are the coaches that are helping you out? You've got a few, haven't you, at New Era?
Yeah, well, we've got Glenn, who's just. He's been from the start. He was back in last night on the safeguarding course. He's been. He was a boxer and a former kickboxing. I think he'd done San Shao, which is a certain style of kickboxing. We've got Rob Tobin help out. We've got a couple of. We've actually got a competitor and coach, Raul Comarasu, who's just come back from Romania. He's currently isolating, but he'll be, and Josh Rowlinson, a competitor and boxer, and Carrie Ann, the first female coach, and Joanne Knight are next potential female coach as well.
Now, going to your boxing, I know you're very experienced amateur because I matched you a couple of times, so I knew you'd had a lot of bouts. Why did you start in the first place, and when was that?
That was 1993, so some years ago. I was actually a semi-keen runner, which I've sort of drifted back into. I've sort of got back into ultra running for my sins. I don't know. I can't describe it. I just loved it. I remember having my first bout. I was absolutely terrified, and that was in Stoke. Because my club, you tend to sort of have connections in certain areas. So Winterford had a good connection around Staffordshire. I had my first bout, which I didn't win, and then I was just determined to win. So I had another bout, I won that, and then it goes hand in hand. When I lost, I wanted to win, and when I won, I absolutely loved it and wanted to win again. So, and then I think once you get over a certain amount of bouts, you're just absolutely hooked.
You boxed in the army. Was that a different experience?
Yes, that was. I think for me, what my own experience of boxing in the army is that you do, for example, in the club, you might do your run, you might do your sparring, you might do your bags, you might do a circuit at the end. You just sort of squeeze it in. With the army, you do. At that time, it might be the same now as you do each session individually. So you get up, you do your run. So it's obviously very high quality. You do extensive warm up, good cool down, go for a meal, come back, do your bag work and technique, go for your lunch, come back, do your sparring. So each session is really tailored. Obviously, you've got the high. I think there was 13 open class at the time, welterweights. Just for sparring with, which is remarkable. Some of them really, really high standard. I think there was about 42 senior boxers at the time, which again is incredible. And obviously it just pushes you on to be so much better. You know, I don't think, I mean, I certainly wasn't, but you're never the best in the room at anything. You know, there's always someone pushing you.
I always think it must be the ultimate it's the most competitive sport anyway, but when you're taking on, say, another service like the RAF or the Navy, that must take it to a new level.
Yeah, I think the Army's been the combined service champions many times. I think there was, oh God, at the time, it's going back quite a few years now. I think it was 2005 I was there, which is frightening. It's gone so fast, but they were combined service champions at least over 20 years in a row. And I think the Navy had a really strong team at the time. It was Q Shillingford was the head coach at the time, and again the RAF is a strong team. You know, good resources, good team. So, and you see a lot of them now. There's the Karen, is it Arkinstoll? She's just qualified for the Olympics.
Yeah.
So you know,
Macclesfield, isn't she?
Yeah, the quality's there in abundance in the Army, and obviously they brought the females through too as well.
Yeah. Now, I obviously watched you box a couple of times, and you boxed my son, Johnny Brown. I don't know if you remember that bout. That was in Lee. It was a very good bout, very tough bout. And I remember it because you were so tall for the weight.
Yeah.
You box at 69 kilograms, and I think you must be about 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah, I was very tall. I was very tall for my weight. I actually used to do 67 when it was a thing, but to be honest, I was probably a perfect 71. But then they got rid of 71, and then I found myself probably, if I'm honest, I'm probably not strong enough for 75, or at least not strong enough to slow my feet down. So I sort of dropped to 69 and tried to box a bit, trying to use my advantage. But against your son, it doesn't always work.
Well, I remember that fight because your first round you dominated completely, you used your height, but then it looked like you enjoy a fight as well, and you stood and traded a bit more. But what did impress me, Mark, you did something that night I've never seen any other boxer do, because we're in the changing rooms at the back and we had them shared changing rooms, and literally 2 minutes after the bout, you were skipping like mad in the back, and you just had a really hard bout. I've never seen that before. Is that your normal cool down?
Yeah, I'd normally, to be honest, that night, it sounds ridiculous, but I'd normally, because it was a very slow burner.
Because you was 34, I think, that night, and I'm sure Jonathan was about 22. So you was in the last stages of before
Yes.
Masters, isn't it?
Yeah, I found myself to start really slow, and I sort of questioned. I was like scratching my head all the time. I was like, why could I never get going in the first round? And sometimes it's, you know, is it psychological? Is it physical? And I just found as I got a bit older to be a very slow burner. So what I actually did, you know, that night, well, as normal, I used to go out for a run, and I've probably done about a 5K, that thing, just slow. I mean, you know. But I found that to be, you know, and then I used to question, you know, is that too much? And actually, it was about right for me, a really slow, you know, even half-hour jog, which sounds ridiculous, but that it was right for me, you know.
You, like I say, you're very experienced, and you had a good amateur record. What are your favourite memories when you look back at it?
I think boxing for the Army, I think that was good. Yeah, I just loved it. I loved, you know, actually the very early memories as boxing, what we used to call on scratch, just going to a show and just seeing if you could get about. I mean, it's not really heard of nowadays, but just sort of turning up and with your gum shield and sort of, right, you two, look, you know, weigh each other in and right, off you go. And you wouldn't have a note, because in the days before, you wouldn't have a clue about your opponent, you wouldn't know how many bouts they had. So I actually, it was difficult near the end, because I sort of matched myself, if that makes sense, because, you know, you'd contact me to say if you could box your son. But I eventually got a coach to train me, and in the end I said, just match me up. Don't even tell me you're in boxing, which is just the way I preferred it. But yeah, my best memories probably the army. You know, more so the training. You tend to. Some people remember bouts, but I always remember who I trained with and the atmosphere. And I really enjoyed Phoenix Fire as it is now. Kids Grove, that was a great atmosphere as well. You know, I always tend to remember the people I train with. You know.
Do you miss, how hard was it to stop in the end? Because you're a very competitive person, that shines through, but how hard was it to stop?
It wasn't. The moment I had my last fight, I knew. I signed up to a marathon the next day. I signed up to a marathon about an hour later, which is, you know, I signed up to the Inverness, the Loch Ness Marathon, and I thought that's it, I'm a marathon runner, and in my mind that's the way I could deal with it, because if I go to a gym or I do a run, I think there's like, what's the end goal? What's the purpose here? And I think that's the way I am. So it made it a lot easier to know that there was something there straight away. So yeah, I finished my last fight and I got straight on my phone on the internet and I signed up for a marathon, and that was it. In my mind, I was a runner. I'd naturally not done. I'd done lots of running, you know, boxers. As I think someone once said, you know, to be a boxer, you've almost got to be a semi-professional runner. I'd actually not done any official races, so I turned up to a marathon. I didn't have a clue. I didn't know what time I was going to run. I didn't know how to pace myself. I just thought I'm just going to run and see what happens. And I got to the finish line, and that was it.
Does coaching help fill that gap, you know, when you stopped?
Oh yeah. I think it's easy to say, but I enjoy coaching more. And if you said to me 10 years ago, no, not a chance, that's just a cop out. But I really do. I get a buzz out of taking a kid for a skills bout. We can dream of having, you know, world champions or ABA finalists, but to see a kid, you know, and they're looking around, not sure and nervous, and then they get that medal, that to me is special.
And who were the boxers that you enjoyed to watch, like when you first started, and today, who do you enjoy watching?
Do you know, I loved Chris Eubank. I don't know why. I know he's a character, but nobody can take away just how good he was. Chris Eubank, he was unbelievable. I remember him doing the 8 fights in a year, and I think that was sort of his undoing, wasn't it? He came across Steve Collins, and I think he lost, and I was mortified. I was like really upset. Prince Naseem was unbelievable at the time, and that's when boxing was, you know, that was ITV, that was, you know, mainstream TV. Modern day, I actually really like Joe Joyce as a heavyweight. I don't know why. I like his attitude. You know, some say he's one-dimensional, but when you see him in his interviews, really down to earth. He's articulate. He's intelligent.
He's a fitness fanatic as well, isn't he? He can just keep going round after round after round.
Unbelievable fitness. And then you know, the Golovkin, Lomachenko, those are, you know, that's their coach's dream, aren't they? Actually, one of my favourites is when I was fortunate enough to go to Rio 2016 and met Julio Cesar de la Cruz. Like, because boxing's not so big in Brazil, people sort of, he was just walking about. You know, for me, he's like the superstar of amateur boxing. Oh my God! And got a picture with him, and that was great. But to see him ringside, that was incredible. So he's probably not.
Last question, Mark, I want to ask you is, like you, I don't know you that well, but I've met you on a couple of occasions, and you do come across a really nice person. But boxing is one of the most brutal. It can be brutal, competitive, ultra competitive. What is it about the sport that you love so much?
It's honest. Does that make sense? It's honest. It's like, you know, for example, your son, you know, we absolutely went at each other for 3 rounds, didn't we? And then as soon as the bell rings, it's so, you know, it's handshake. And every time he sees me, since I've not seen him for a while, it's like, oh, how's it going? And, you know, I love that. And his, I don't know, I can't describe, it's a feeling, isn't it? It's hard to describe in words. I think I don't think you can put a price on it, can you? I think, you know, when you see like documentaries and you do news stories and you see newspaper clippings and, like, for example, Boris Johnson last year, and when they want to get in touch with the people and when they want to connect with people, where do they go? They always use boxing clubs. I know I'm biased, but they always, you know, it's kind of a representation of the community, and that rightly so, isn't it? You know, they're kind of in every little town, aren't they? And I think they're there for a reason, aren't they? You know, boxing clubs.
Well, that's fantastic, that, Mark. Good luck with New Era. I hope it continues to grow, but really good luck and best wishes with the Guinness World Record attempt. All the best with that.
Oh, thank you very much.